Hi, I'm Damian Karlson from Platform 9, and today I'm here to show you some new features and functionality that we've recently added in Private Cloud Director in our July 2025 release. Here is my Private Cloud Director user interface. You can see here that I am showing the home screen. This home screen is the administrator's view. It shows all of the quotas within the tenant and, of course, resource utilization across all tenants. So one of the first things I wanted to show you here is these new metrics. This is something that we've added in this release, and it gives you very quick visibility into what's going on with not only your hosts, but also your virtual machines. Kind of sticking with this host concept, I do want to point out that we now do clusters independently of the blueprint. And what I mean by that is rather than being able to set VMHA and DRR and the brand new GPU support on the blueprint, we actually do that on a cluster by cluster basis. And so if I go in here to my first cluster, you can see that I have 2 hosts added into it. If I return and I edit that cluster, you can see here I have the ability to toggle VM high availability, the dynamic resource rebalancing, and to enable GPU support. I've also created 2 other empty clusters here that show you what the GPU support looks like, both for enabled, for pass-through support, or for vGPU. Back to our hosts. This is the host page. So this shows the 2 hosts that I have here in my cluster. I can click onto the resource utilization and look at the allocation and the usage of those hosts within that cluster. If I were to have a GPU host, I would find them here on the GPU host screen. Over in virtual machines, we did the same thing with the graphs. You can actually see here that the resource utilization for all the VMs within this tenant are shown. We've got CPU, memory, network, storage. All of these are actually coming straight from the Private Cloud Director host itself. And we're also exporting these same metrics to Grafana. So the Grafana instance that ships with Private Cloud Director, you can see that here. We have a number of dashboards. And so that is the same information that we're showing within the Private Cloud Director user interface. And the reason why I bring up Grafana is that this ability will also allow you to ship these metrics to another Grafana instance. So this data is not something that only lives within Private Cloud Director. You have the ability to easily integrate it within the rest of your existing monitoring platforms. All right, so virtual machines, we have done a few different things in the deployment. You can see here, we've actually redone a little bit of our deployment wizard. So here I can choose a name for it. I can decide which cluster I want it to go into. I can choose whether or not to boot it from a VM or from a volume. I can choose the image that I want it based on. Here I can actually filter for hot plug compatible or GPU compatible flavors. I don't have any of those, but they would show up if I had them in this lab. Here I would just select the size of VM that I would like, the network that I'd like it to go onto. And then we have this new thing, which allows you to spin up a bunch of the same machines at any given time, which is really handy. We also have SSH key. We've got the ability to use Cloud Init for Cloud Init enabled images, and then to manually assign security groups if we'd like, or we can just keep the default security group applied, which allows traffic egress, but does not allow traffic ingress. So I'll go ahead and deploy that VM, and away that goes. We've done a little bit of other kind of moving around here. On the virtual machine tab, we have now put our images within that same tab. I'm gonna pop this open a little bit to make it easier to see. Storage, this is the same layout that we had previously. So you can see volume snapshots if I had any, the existing volume types and their backends, and then any provisioned volumes that I might have for my virtual machines. Networks and security are all the same. I do want to point out, though, that our DNS-as-a-Service, we now bring some of that stuff directly into the user interface. So the ability to assign the DNS zone according to your DNS-as-a-Service, which uses the Designate project, and also to set the ability to publish a fixed IP. So those were enhancements that we had provided earlier in the year, and now we've brought that functionality into the UI. And then finally, here is our Kubernetes side of the product. Right now, I have a single Kubernetes VM deployed, and it is running 3 nodes. You can see that it's a hosted control plane. Here's my resource utilization. The capacity and health that actually shows the worker nodes, shows all those worker nodes running. I can download my kube config, and I can authenticate against the private cloud director identity service using DEX, which means that effectively a single sign-on to authenticate against private cloud director straight from the kubectl command line lets you work with your Kubernetes workloads just as you normally would. But those workloads would be hosted on private cloud director. And we also have cluster nodes and physical hosts if you wanted to bring your own bare metal host. That's a cool feature that we've brought in this year. All the same access control, the role-based access, the cluster roles and everything that you may be familiar with already. And then of course, all of the different Kubernetes resources, namespaces, config maps, etc. So that's it. That is the quick overview as to what we've been doing with Private Cloud Director and showing you some of the new features and functionality within our user interface and within the product itself. If you have any questions, feel free to drop by our subreddit, which is /r/platform9. And I'd also encourage you to download and check out Community Edition. It's free and it is fully featured and it runs on a single VM or bare metal server, and gives you the ability to get Private Cloud Director running in your environment and let you see this greatness at work. Alrighty, thank you very much. We'll talk later.